Hello, we are going to talk about Saxon Course 2, Lesson 17. The focus of today's lesson has to do with using a protractor. Now, you've all seen a protractor. It looks like this, okay? I've drawn a little one on my paper, and I just want to give you just a little insight into it. When you have a protractor, there's a line on either side that's, it's just probably usually about a half an inch from the bottom of the protractor. And that's your 0 or 180 on either side. When you are reading the degree measure of an angle, you have to figure out which ring of the protractor to use. The outside ring measures left to right, 0 to 180. The inside ring in here, right to left, measures 0 to 180 going right to left. So it depends on whether your angle opens this way to the left or your angle opens this way to the right. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a couple minutes, okay? Okay, we're going to talk just a tiny bit about rotation. And rotation is not a difficult concept, but you just kind of need to be aware of it. When you're looking at a 360 rotation, that literally means the entire circle. So you might start here and you would go all the way around. That is 360. You actually end where you started. If you're talking about a half rotation, that's half of 360, which of course is 180. You could start here and go to here. The angle, if you measured it, literally is 180 degrees, whereas the other one was a circle and that was 360. You could have a quarter, they call it a quarter rotation or a 1/4 rotation. You could start here and measure up to here. That is 90 degrees. Now, there's nothing that says you can't start here and go to here and make it 90 degrees. But they typically like to start here and make this the 0 and going here to 90 degrees. It won't go past 90 degrees. So that's just kind of an interesting tidbit. I would definitely draw a circle in your notes just to kind of help you to remember, and then draw in the rotations. Now, the next thing we have to talk about is labeling angles. These are important. You need to know the label of angles. You can be able to say what kind of angle it is. A acute angle, it's very, very, very acute, is less than 90 degrees, so it's a very small angle. Obtuse is greater than 90 but less than 180. So it could be 90 and a half and 175 or 179 and a half, but it can't be 90 and it can't be 180. A right angle is exactly 90 degrees, not 89, not 91, it's exactly 90. A straight angle is exactly 180. And a straight angle, a lot of people get confused, but a straight angle is simply a straight line. It looks like a straight line. And your angle, if this is A, B, C, it is literally angle A, B, C, and its measure is 180 degrees. Okay? A reflex angle is more than 180. Will go down past 180. I will show you a picture of that in just a little bit, but just write that in your notes. You got to have that definition. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about perpendicular lines. That was a confusing thing a while back for us, and so I wanted to be very, very clear to you. Perpendicular lines, when they intersect, they form right angles. Okay, so labeling over here, you have to show that it's a perpendicular line to be able to guarantee that. But if you see right here, this angle is labeled at 90 degrees. Now, if this angle is 90 degrees, then its opposite down here, okay, or the vertical angle that's its buddy, so to speak, has to be 90 degrees. And if this is a straight line and this is 90 degrees, then this one also must be 90 degrees. And if it's 90 degrees, its friend down here, which is its opposite angle, must also be 90 degrees. So that is, you kind of start with one, and then by the time you get done going through them all, they're all 90 degrees and it makes sense. Now, to write that two lines are perpendicular, this is the correct form right here, okay? Line AB, which is this one, is perpendicular. This little upside down T means perpendicular to line CD. Have to have this in your notes because you're going to be asked to write one line perpendicular to another, and you need to know what the symbol is. Okay? All right, let's go on to the next. Talking about using a protractor. Now, if you're going to use a protractor, one of the things that you really need to do is look at the face of the protractor. Notice that the 0 on the protractor is very close to the bottom, and I'll show you here in just a second. I want you to get these notes down. Notice that the 0 on the protractor is close to the bottom on both sides. If the angle faces to the right, use the inside ring of the protractor. If the angle faces to the left, you're going to use the outside ring. And I kind of talked about that already at the beginning of this lecture. I'm going to show you a protractor right here. Okay, and I'm going to zoom in on it just a little bit so you can see it. Okay, now I was talking about, it's going to be just a little bit tight. There we go. See down here, right here, and then likewise over here. That's where the 0 starts, or the 180. This is 0 degrees right here. If you're going on the outside of the protractor and you're measuring angle that maybe opens to the left, this is 0, this is 70, this is 120, and this is 180. If you're measuring an angle that opens to the right, this is 0, this is 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Here's 90, here's 140, and 180 is over here. So you have to figure out what part of the protractor you need to use depending on how the angle opens. I've got 3 angles that I want to measure here. Actually, I have 2 on this page, I guess. So we're going to start over here. This angle opens to the right. Okay, we're going to use the inside ring of the protractor. So I'm going to put the protractor right on the vertex of the angle. It goes right in the circle of the protractor. And then you want to line up what I call the bottom of the angle. There's a line right here. You want to line up the bottom of the angle with that line right there. And then you follow this line out. Well, you're measuring on the inside, so it's pretty easy to see that this is approximately pretty close to 54 degrees. So I'm going to label this 54 degrees. The measure of the angle is 54. Now, that is an acute angle because it's less than 90. Now, this angle over here opens to the left. Okay, I'm going to leave that right there. I put my little circle right on the vertex, line up this bottom line with the bottom of the angle. Now, this time I'm going to use the outside. This is 0, this is 50. So this angle, get it right on there, there we go. This angle is 53 degrees. Yeah, 53 degrees. How I managed to draw 2 that were so alike, I do not know. But anyway, this angle starts here, goes to there. On the outside ring, it's 53 degrees. So I will mark this like this, and I'll write 53 degrees. And then down here, I'm going to put 53 degrees. Okay, so just so that you can see what we did, we measured this angle that opened to the right, and we used the inside ring of the protractor, and it measured 54 degrees. Then we went over here and we measured this angle that opens to the left. We used the outside ring of the protractor, and it measured 53 degrees. Notice that the middle letter of the names of these angles is the vertex. I'll say that again. The middle letter of the names of these angles is the vertex. Always must be that way. You might want to write that down. Okay, we have just a little bit of time left, and I want to try to get this wrapped up. Looking at this first angle, Now when you look at it, I'll bet you think you know what it measures, and we're hoping that that is true, but you never, ever, ever, ever want to make an assumption. It opens to the right, okay, and we're going to measure it, putting our protractor right on the vertex and continuing our line out. A lot of times I just lay my pencil right there. And by golly, it is indeed what we thought it was. It is a 90-degree angle. So its measure is 90 degrees. We will label that angle as angle RST. And we can name that as a right angle because it is 90 degrees. Okay. Now, down here, we have another angle. This angle opens to the left, and it is an obtuse angle. So I guess we'll name it already. It's obtuse. We can just tell that by looking at it, but we'll prove it by measuring it. So it opens to the left. We put our circle right on the dot, lining up the what I call the bottom of the angle with the line that goes across here. We'll be measuring using the outside ring of the protractor. So we follow this out, and it is approximately about 122 degrees, because it's about right there. So I'll write 122 degrees here, 122 degrees here. If we label this angle, it would be angle MNP. Now, is it okay to call it angle PNM? Yeah, that's okay. And the one up above could have been angle TSR. For some reason, I just like to go left to right. So that, but as long as your vertex is the middle letter, you're okay. And it was indeed an obtuse angle because it was over 90 degrees. Okay, we're going to measure this little guy down here. He opens to the right. We're going to measure him, and he's little, so I'm guessing he's going to be labeled as an acute, but we'll see if we can prove that here in just a second. Okay, follow it out. We're using the inside ring because it opens to the right, and indeed it is 16 degrees. Definitely an acute angle. Label it would be angle YXW, and this is definitely acute. Now, our last angle is a weird looking one because it goes like this all the way over here. Now, my protractor won't measure that. If I lay this on here, okay, I get it that it's 180 degrees, but then see how it goes clear down here yet? So how would you measure this angle? By the way, this is a reflex angle. F-L-U-X, R-E-F-L-U-X, reflex angle. And to measure a reflex angle, you have to go about it in just a little different way. You flip it upside down, okay, and you measure what's left. So we're going to measure the angle that is left here. It is an obtuse angle. It measures 145. Okay, but that's not the angle we want. This is the leftover angle. So to get the angle we want, we're going to have to take 360, which would have been a full rotation, subtract your 145. Okay, this angle here is 215 degrees. Now, did you see how I did that? I measured this angle down here to find out what it was. Took it from 360, which would have been a full rotation, and I end up with 215 degrees. Okay, this angle does still open to the right. It measures 215 degrees, and I don't have any letters on it, do I? So let's come up with letters. I'm thinking let's make this HRT. So we're going to label it. We'll label it as angle HRT, with R being your vertex and H being 2 points on the angle. Well, I sure hope this helped you. It was kind of fun to do. And I think probably that most of us would agree that angles sometimes can be tricky. So I hope you like it, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks a lot.